Hi, it's the Sanford Edible Garden Trail, and today we're here with John. Thank you, John. We're going to talk about aquaponics. So everything to do with fish, nutrients, feeding your plants, and aquaponics.
Enjoying the harvest.
Enjoying the harvest. Okay. Okay, so John,
Yep.
I've never really, to be honest, come across aquaponics. I'm an absolute beginner, and I think if you could just run us through your system. So John's in a suburban backyard. We're in Brisbane, about 20 minutes out of the city. So it's quite a small space here, and I'm really interested to know how you've integrated this into your garden.
Sure.
Okay.
Right, thanks for having me, guys. This is my aquaponics system. This was, I guess, a bit of a brainchild to try and utilise some of the vertical space here, as well as trying to integrate a closed loop system. Basically, the system composes of IBCs. This IBC is black. That's to keep out any potential algal growth and to try and increase the water temperature during winter to keep the types of fish that I've got here. Originally I looked at barramundi. They're a little bit trickier, but at the moment I'm using Barcoo grunter, a native Australian species from the central parts of Queensland. They're a very versatile fish. They can be fed vegetarian or a meat diet. I tend to feed mine grasshoppers or pests from the yard, which they happily eat. So with this system, we've got 1,000 litres of water. It drains gravity fed through 2 wicking beds, which act as a filtration system. The water flows through, collects any nutrients from the fish waste, and is wicked up and absorbed by the plants. The water comes out into a sump where I'm operating a float valve type pump, which reduces my electrical consumption. It's also powered by the solar system on the roof. That water is fed up the top of the rails and goes through each rail, is gravity fed down into my main tank. What happens is the water is split into 2 zones, so I can tap the flow rate to my system to try and reduce the flow through the tubes and to try and keep the nutrient in there as long as I possibly can for the plants to absorb. The excess pressure in the system goes along here through teat and then back into this system. So this acts for aeration purposes, so I can keep as many fish as I possibly can according to what oxygen level is available in the tank. So during the transport of water through this system, each point acts as a breaking point for water, oxygenating it as it goes. So you want smaller, more frequent contact areas for your water flow to break up the water as much as you can to increase your oxygen levels as much as possible. I tend to grow lettuces and leafy greens in this area for the simple fact that lettuce loves water and it grows quite rapidly. At the moment I've got silver beets, which are going okay. The growth rates are fairly small, so that's because my tank is probably understocked a little at the moment. But I can eat that as a microgreen or replant these seedlings out. It's an extra available space for seedling storage as well, so I can use those in the garden if I wanted to.
Okay. And so how much would something like this cost? Like have you got a sort of a general idea of a setup cost?
You're probably looking at about $1,000. You could probably scavenge a few little bits and pieces, like piping. If you've got little bits and pieces of piping lying around, you can cut that up and make something work. Predominantly the cost is in the pump. I recommend using an efficient type pump, something that's going to last you a while. You can go something cheaper, but you're probably going to be replacing it every so often. So the IBCs are cut in half, and basically filled with sand and a little bit of gravel and some wicking type material and soil over the top. So you can get away with a few different things you've got lying around in the yard, and possibly source the other bits somewhere else.
All right, so the main cost is the pump. So
Yeah.
that's really...
Yeah.
And how many fish would you have in there?
At the moment I've only got 7. I can stock crayfish down the bottom. I haven't really gone into too much detail with this tank, so I haven't really tested my stocking rates here. So you can stock Barcoo grunter quite heavily, so that they do work pretty well together, and they're a very hardy fish, especially if you're beginning. So silver perch or a Barcoo grunter is ideal to start with. If you get adventurous, barramundi are great, especially at feeding time. They love to hit the feed pretty hard. But the fish you can buy as fingerlings. I hope to raise some fingerlings in a different part of my property to try and take away some of that cost. Or you can also source the fingerlings from reputable dealers online. They can range from $4 or $5 each fingerling.
Oh, right.
So, yeah,
Okay.
they're relatively cheap.
Okay. And is the idea that you eat the fish as well? Or is it just that the fish live there and you're just harvesting the nutrients for the garden?
Predominantly they're just there for an ecological function, and to harvest for the plants really.
Yeah, okay.
But I probably will eat them at some stage, and I reckon these will go pretty well with a bit of smoke, so I'll cold smoke these and probably eat them. So.
Okay. Can you show us where you've got your fingerlings? We might do a quick walk through the garden here. And okay, what's the setup here?
So this is another aquaponic type system. I've got a couple of little plants in there. That's for oxygenation of the water as well. But the idea is to have this as my main seed raising area, as well as raising fingerlings or feeder fish if I want to feed my main tank over there. So the water in here is pumped up and goes into these vertical systems here, and gravity fed back down into my main holding tank. The idea is potentially to heat this water to a certain temperature and enable me to grow and propagate seedlings a lot easier, as well as feed them at the same time with nutrient from the fish. Like I mentioned before, all these breaks in the water flow aid in oxygenation, so you keep the oxygen levels up in your water. And I can raise quite a few seedlings here as well, so they go out in the sun hardened area where they go there for a while for me to plant out.
Wow, I'm really impressed. Because I've started with not knowing anything at all about fish and how they can integrate into a backyard garden, but I can see you've put a lot of thought and effort in, and again, like they're really it's a small space, but it's really amazing how you've integrated everything.
Yeah,
So-
you can potentially use anything really for this. So you could find any sort of tub or anything and use tubs if you wanted to, and stack it vertically. So there's a lot of research going on with vertical gardens at the moment, and potential for that to reduce land footprint.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, like the fish and the plants are both ecological systems, and they work well together.
Okay. And are they organic based systems?
Yeah, these are all organic based. So organic seed, fish, organic waste. It's all organic. So that reduces any inputs, and yeah, the system works brilliantly.
All right, well, thank you very much. So if you've got any questions for John, please put your questions below, and we can share the knowledge, share the info. So Garden Trail is all about encouraging us to grow more food in our own backyards. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and we'll have lots more videos to come. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.